Uh-oh. You are now entering the rabbit hole.
The Roland VT4, that will never get old. Probably one of the best toys that I bought because I love toys because they make noise. All right. This is going to be another talking video, my opinion and observation of something that happened. And I'm putting this out as just more of a PSA to a couple of groups. To those that are looking to see if things will work in a way that maybe it's not designed for, and then to those who are doing yeoman's work and trying to help those by testing. I am not saying that this is going to happen every time. I am acknowledging that I may be doing things that are not apples to apples. And I want to acknowledge one thing from the start that is very, very important. I need to make this crystal clear because the rest of it, someone could say, wow, Wabbit, you're not being cool. I am aware and I understand that we are all not working on the same playing field. We all don't have the latest gear tech, especially when it comes to what the manual says for a gear. The reasons are many and they're not really relevant. I just want to put that out there that I get that. So here is the backstory of what's going on. I was watching a live stream this morning and somebody asked, can this device be plugged into my iPhone 14? And my immediate thought went to this thing here, the lightning port. Now, I mentioned earlier, this may not be an apples to apples. This is an iPhone 11. So there may be some differences, and I admit that. But before you go rushing off the test, please continue watching this video, not for the algorithms, but I believe there's something important to take away from this. But what is in common is they both share the lightning port. So in my nature of just trying to help others, that's kind of what I did for a very long time as a former ER nurse. I thought, hey, now, in all honesty, I said at that time, let me test that for you later because this sits in my mobile Go Jam bag. Did a video talking about that. And I use this to record my jam sessions when I'm outside of the studio. The hutch. I also use this device. I have some other cables. That's not really relevant. But I was percolating some coffee and I thought, you know what? I got some time. Let me do the right thing. And I went to go test it out. So I grabbed this out. This is sitting, attached to something else behind me here in the space. So the only thing I really did was take the cable that was coming from here and plug it into the back. So this is an Apple CCK, by the way, camera connection kit cable. So this is USB Type A. That was going into USB Type C. And then I've got this plugged into power. And then obviously this going into the phone. I'm running the Blackmagic camera app on this. And the reason being is it shows the levels. So when I plug things in, not only that, but I can see, does it recognize the device, unlike the native camera app. So I go to plug it in, turn this thing on, and I'm not seeing anything happen. And that's when I start kicking into, nerd geek mode, plugging things, unplugging, plugging them in, turning on order of operations, the usual stuff. And eventually I saw this message where it said, MPC sample disconnected. So initially what I thought wasn't going to work, now I'm seeing it. I'm like, okay, so let's keep going with this. Eventually, it did show up as the interface that you would see when you plug this into a USB Type-C device. So my next test was to get some sound out of here. And I go to press on the pads, and I'm not seeing any levels on the app. And that's when I go here to check my volume, and then that's when it hits me, Houston, we have a problem. This device has frozen. Now, this was not the first time that I've seen this. Watching This World Needs a Hero, he did a live stream a few days ago. He was doing something in the box, and it actually locked up on him, and he had to do a hard reboot. So fortunately, seeing that and just kind of knowing, working with tech for a period of time, that's the next step. However, the other thing before I got to that point, I noticed the battery light. Matter of fact, let me just turn this on just to still make sure it works. The battery light that was green flipped to red. And again, I didn't pay any attention to it, but I'm like, that's kind of interesting as I look back on it. So I go to power it off and I get the screen that says, "Are you sure you want to shut down?" And again, still locked. I couldn't press yes. It was literally just there. So I go to press it and hold it to do the hard reboot, and nothing's happening. At this point, I thought, yeah, I messed up. It's gone, bricked. So I plugged it back in to see if I could even get the charge indicator. Nothing. It was still showing red. And this time I said, you know what? Let's just go hardcore and hold this thing down for as long as we can. And I did that, and it finally turned off. And then I turned it back on, and we're now good to go. So here is my message to two different camps. To those who are the fellow, I'm going to use the term caregivers because you're taking the time to care by giving your time to help others. That's awesome. Nothing wrong with that. It's what we should be doing. With that being said, please proceed with caution, especially when you're dealing with newer technology. This device has been out a week. I'm not saying that this is some new technology, but the reality is you're dealing with computers. In all fairness to Akai, this is something that I will not report as a bug because I personally feel I'm going outside the box to do something that is not in the manual. The manual, at the time of this recording, does not say lightning ports are supported. And this is not just with Akai. I remember this with Poly and devices. So this is not just unique here. Again, you're dealing with what I said earlier. People don't always have the same level playing field with the gear. And, when the Poly and Play Plus came out, I'm not going to get really deep into the weeds, but if you know, in terms of dongles and things of that sort. And the same kind of questions were being asked, and people will try these. And I think one of the dangerous parts of this is someone will say, okay, it's not in the manual, but I got this to work, and then they put it out there as the gospel. And it may work for you. That's awesome. I just don't think we can say universally, okay, because it worked for me, you're good to go. Because the minute I put this video out, I just know how humans are. Someone's going to go test this, and someone's going to say, hey, I got this to work with the iPhone 14. It works great. I don't know what you're talking about. That's kind of what we do. And that's awesome. I just don't feel that that should be pushed as the gospel. Because the minute you do that, what happened to me is going to happen to somebody else. And I need you to understand that this is a risk you're taking. And if you're okay with that, that's cool. Proceed. But if you really enjoy your device and you don't want to get down like that, there's no shame in that. There's nothing wrong. There's plenty of other people who will help. And I'm glad this thing didn't get bricked, but I can no longer do this. Anyway, so that is my message to those who are the caregivers. Now, to those who are the watchers, ask the questions. I am not at all saying stop doing that. I am not at all saying level your game up and get the latest. No, that wouldn't be a cool thing to do. Just understand that there may be some who will take the approach that I do. And then to those that help you, be very grateful, be very appreciative that they're doing that. And then the other thing is just take a look at the manual and understand what you can do. And the other option is workaround. It's not the greatest thing. It requires additional purchases usually. So if I wanted to make this work, then I know that I could put something else in the middle, maybe an interface, maybe some other cables, maybe dongles. Those are called workarounds. Again, I get it. I can't go to somebody and say, go buy extra stuff when maybe this was pushing someone to the limit financially. Again, we don't know everybody's situation. Let's have a little compassion here. So I think on both sides, there has to be a little bit of give and take, a little bit of, okay, We want to help. We want to get this to work, but the manual says this is what it's designed for. Now, if you want to go to Akai and say, hey, I would like to see support for Lightning ports, man, what a rhyme. Then absolutely do that. Now, they may not do that because to me, that would be kind of going back with technology. But again, you can definitely do so. That's all I got. I really hope that there was something in here that could maybe potentially save somebody from having their device freeze up. And to those who are trying to see if things work, continue to ask those questions because someone will take that risk to do it. And maybe there's a different outcome. And maybe you see somebody coming with a different result. It doesn't mean that this was wrong or this was, no, it's how this is technology. That's how this works. Because we should all be able to enjoy and have a good time. And hopefully you find a way that works for you. All right. Thank you for your time. I hope this finds you well, and I hope to catch you in another video. Until then, keep jamming.